Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's DevOps.com program, brought to you by Techstrong and CircleCI. My name is Cody J. Brown. I'm the host of Techstrong Learning, and we do have an exciting presentation ahead. First, I do have just a couple of housekeeping notes to cover. So today's session is being recorded. If you miss any of our discussion, or maybe you'd like to rewatch or share with a friend, the on-demand recording will be made available shortly after we conclude our live session. If you have any questions, and we really hope that you do, we want you to send those in to us using the Q&A tab, which can be found on the right side of the screen. That's also where you'll find the chat tab, where we want you to get to know your fellow audience members, or maybe just let us know from where you are tuning in. We do have two polls that will pop up on your screen throughout today's program, so we want your participation there. And if you'd like to download a copy of today's slides, those are available for you in the handouts section. Of course, before we close out, we are giving away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, so be sure to stick around for the duration of today's program. So on to the topic of today's program. It is Better Together, Accelerate End-to-End Software Delivery with Best-of-Breed Tooling. I'm just going to run you through the agenda real quick before I introduce our speakers. So first, we are starting off with a speaker introduction. Then we will go into an intro to Atlassian Open DevOps. Then we'll be introduced to CircleCI, followed by an introduction to New Relic. So we have speakers from all three of those organizations today. And then we are going to end our program today with an integrated demo of Open DevOps, CircleCI, and New Relic. So very much looking forward to watching all of these pieces come together. Bringing these pieces together, we have Rick Berta, Senior Software Engineer at CircleCI, Warren Marusiak, Senior Technical Evangelist at Atlassian, Camden Sweda, Product Manager at New Relic, and Glenn Thomas, Principal Partner Engineer at New Relic. So Glenn, Camden, Warren, and Rick, thank you all so much for joining me today. Warren, do you want to go ahead and take it from here?
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. My name is Warren Marusiak. As stated, I was a technical evangelist here at Atlassian. I've been at the company for a couple of years. And prior to this, I was a developer, most recently with Amazon AWS, working on the MySQL team. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is Atlassian Open DevOps. And Atlassian Open DevOps is an integrated offering of Atlassian tools with a focus on giving customers kind of a starting point for building out a DevOps tool suite that they can use to run their development cycle. Out of the box, Atlassian Open DevOps comes with kind of 5 Atlassian products. First product being Jira Software, and then we have Bitbucket. Jira and Bitbucket are very tightly integrated. Bitbucket Pipelines is a CI/CD product that comes with Bitbucket by default. So if you're using Bitbucket, you've got CI/CD tool access right out of the box. We have integrated Opsgenie, which is an incident management and response tool. So you can manage your on-call rotations here, and you can have various applications push alerts to Opsgenie so that you can manage incidents as they happen. And finally, we have Confluence. Confluence is a kind of remote-friendly collaboration tool. So you can build your design docs there, you can write documentation, and all of these tools are really tightly integrated under Atlassian Open DevOps. So you can access Bitbucket from Jira Software, you can access Opsgenie from Jira Software, you can get to Confluence directly from Jira Software. And that's kind of the name of the game with Atlassian Open DevOps, is this idea of integrated tools. So we give you guys 5 tools out of the box, and then we make it very easy for you to integrate other tools from the market into Atlassian Open DevOps, because we realize that various teams have different needs and wants, and they're going to want to integrate tools that they use already, or maybe tools that they have a preference for. So that's kind of what we set out to build with Atlassian Open DevOps. Now I'm going to take a quick look at the various tools that we offer out of the box. So Jira Software is kind of your standard work management tool. This is the central point of integration for everything. Your code tools push updates into Jira Software. So as you make changes in your code, that automatically populates your Jira issues. As your alarms fire, you can have them raise Jira issues for you automatically so that you can assign people to them and respond to it. You can find all of your code here. We can have your documentation linked in here. So it provides a one-stop shop for everybody working on a project, kind of understand what's going on. If your manager wants to find out what work you're doing right now, they can go to a Kanban board and filter by you to see everything that you're doing. It allows management to have a high-level overview of everything. You can see deployments across the tech stack. You can take a look at individual details, and you can jump out to every other tool from here. So again, this is kind of that central point of integration for everything. Bitbucket is the Atlassian Git-based source control tool. You can have your source code in here, various branches. You can manage pull requests easily. You can manage your deployments. Again, this has a full CI/CD tool out of the box. So if you want to build out deployments to multiple environments, that's easy to do. And this also integrates with various other tools. So if you want to replace the Bitbucket pipelines with another tool like, say, CircleCI, that's something that you can do. And all of the work that gets done in here pushes data back into Jira as an integration point. Another tool we have is Opsgenie. Opsgenie is our alerting and on-call tool, so we can respond to ops here. You can have stuff like, say, CloudWatch alarms, raise alerts in Opsgenie, and you can create Jira issues from these alerts if you want. You can also manage your on-call rotations in this tool. And then finally, we jump over to Confluence. Confluence, again, is kind of a collaboration space where you can build documentation and track your design documents. And this can integrate with a whole bunch of tools as well. So if you want to build different kinds of diagrams or whatnot, that can all be done easily in here. So it gives people like a nice, easy way of collaborating on non-code related things and integrates directly into it. Now, as I was saying, Atlassian Open DevOps, kind of the goal of this tool suite is to allow developers to set up integrated tool suites and bring in integrations with tools that they're either already using or they're really interested in using. So there's a couple ways we support that. The first way we support that is with the Atlassian Marketplace. In the Atlassian Marketplace, you can search for whatever tool it is that you might want to use, and there's probably going to be an integration for it already. These integrations are written by the tool vendors or by Atlassian, and you can basically install these with a single click or by following a simple set of instructions. Atlassian's putting work into this to make this better and expand the offerings we have here. So if you've got Atlassian Open DevOps and you've got your 5 tools ready to go, and you decide you want another tool that you are preferring to use, you can find an integration for it in the marketplace, and you can install it, and then you're ready to go. Very helpful. Now, some folks have tools that don't show up in the integrated marketplace, however, and for those, we also offer a full set of APIs and other development platforms like Forge. So this is really useful for supporting teams that have home-rolled their own solution. So if you have something that you've built in-house that works really well for your team and it's vital to how your team functions, it's easy to build your own integrations for it. And you can use our APIs to push data to any of our products. And you can use Forge to build full UI components that live inside of our products. So in this way, we support both kinds of integrations. Existing tools in the market can be integrated through the marketplace, and any custom integrations you want to build can be built through kind of your developer APIs. And I'm going to pass this over to Rick now at CircleCI. He's going to talk about CircleCI's offerings.
Thank you, Warren. My name is Rick. As mentioned earlier, I'm a senior engineer here at CircleCI on the data intelligence team. We have a pretty simple mission, but the tooling can be very complex. Been around for just over 10 years and have grown pretty rapidly since then, expanding our presence from North America into the APAC and EMEA regions, supporting software teams to build their best software and do their best work as quickly and efficiently as possible. So what do we do exactly, and where do we sit? There's a lot of work between the source code, creation, and code in production, and that's where CircleCI comes in. It is critical to understand and have insight not only into production, but also from creation to production. And that is where our integrations with world-class technology partners like Atlassian and New Relic help simplifying collaboration and actionable monitoring insights when needed. Our configuration hierarchy consists of a pipeline, which can contain many workflows for your specific processes. Workflows can contain many jobs, and jobs can contain many steps. Jobs are shareable across workflows. We'll see quite a few offerings to support reuse. To help simplify the path to your first green build, we offer a variety of integration as what we call orbs, to integrate with your favorite tools and providers. As of now, we have over 135 certified orbs that we have authored ourselves or have authored with our partners. And we also allow the ability for community orbs to be created, which you can add to your projects. These effectively allow you to share jobs across pipelines and organizations. Now we're going to talk about New Relic. Over to you, Glenn.
Thanks, Rick. So my name is Camden. I'm a product manager here at New Relic. I'm joined by Glenn Thomas, an engineer on the partners team, and we'd like to talk a little bit about New Relic. It's the offerings that we have today, a little bit of our plans for the future, and how we are integrating with various CI/CD vendors and the other participants on the tool chain to create full lifecycle observability. So at New Relic, our mission is to bring observability across the entire lifecycle. And while we've best been known as a market leader in the APM space since our founding over a decade ago, we've expanded our offerings over time. We've changed our pricing model, and we've established partnerships to help engineers bring observability and telemetry-driven insights into their whole stack from the ID on up, so they can make the right decisions with the power of data. As a leader in observability, New Relic is uniquely positioned to help engineers take a data-driven approach to a wide variety of tasks important to designing, building, deploying, and running great software. We've positioned ourselves to help them do it with increased frequency on systems that are becoming more distributed and generating ever more increasing volumes of telemetry of varying types. We're the only vendor to deliver a unified data platform that captures all telemetry from any source and opens that telemetry up to analysis with powerful tools in the New Relic platform. This is all delivered through usage-based consumption pricing, which is unique in the observability industry, and New Relic was the first to offer it. We like this model for our customers because it's intuitive and predictable, and it allows us to give engineers more value for the money while they improve their efficiency and improve planning cycle times, measure and iterate and measure again, and increase generally the frequency of their deployments and improve monitoring coverage across their systems. New Relic customers are sending us more data than ever and using our tools with increased frequency as a result of the shift to this model. Consumption-based pricing allows us to keep the quality of the service high no matter how much they are sending. And they're sending us a lot. Among our 15,000 plus customers, there's 2.4 trillion data points queried per minute. For perspective, that's about 400 times more events than there are Google searches or tweets per second. This approach, helps some of the world's leading brands, including Adidas, Runtastic, American Red Cross, Australian Post, Banco Inter, Chegg, GoTo Group, Ryanair, Sainsbury's, Signify Health, Topgolf, and more, improve their uptime, reliability, and operational efficiency. So beyond what we provide our customers out of the box on our platform, we believe in meeting developers where they're at and giving them the flexibility to work with the tools that best meet their needs. And that's why we've invested heavily in an ecosystem of hundreds of integrations to expand our reach, including with Atlassian and CircleCI. You can install quick starts, as we call them, that start monitoring your CI/CD pipeline health and generate pre-built dashboards, or link our tools to Jira and start firing off data-rich issues directly from New Relic. The example that I just mentioned with CircleCI, the benefits that you get here are the ability to very quickly start monitoring your CI/CD pipeline health, and look at stats such as total jobs ran, job health with a % of the success, the project summary, most recent failed jobs, and jobs ran per project. And the nice thing about this is once you set this up with CircleCI, you gain this visibility right off the bat, and it also generates a pre-built dashboard that'll allow you to start seeing this information in a customizable and flexible way. And you can take the pre-built dashboard and say add additional information from your production monitoring to start seeing your pre-production and your production telemetry side by side and understand the relationship between them. On the Atlassian side, one of our integrations here is with Jira and our errors inbox product. So this product is our error aggregation and analysis tool. And when Atlassian recently launched their toolchain, which helps Jira users discover DevOps integrations, we introduced alongside them the errors inbox integration with Jira. And this makes it really easy for developers to go in and understand sort of the nature, attributes, and trends in their errors, see them aggregated so they're not dealing with such high volumes, and then very quickly generate issues in Jira for further investigation and to take action. Coming down the road a little bit and looking ahead, something that we're excited to talk a little bit about today, especially in the context of CircleCI and Atlassian, is our upcoming movement into CI/CD monitoring and deployment analysis and tracking. So in 2023, we'll be releasing a product that will depend, very heavily on partners like Atlassian and CircleCI to allow users to record deployment markers and see them actually visualized in New Relic, and then be able to drill into those markers to analyze the impact of that change on entity and system health, see its relationship to errors, logs, anomalies, issues, and then also navigate seamlessly between CircleCI, New Relic, Atlassian, and other tools in their toolchain via deep links. So, in our ongoing efforts to sort of expand our integrated reach into the toolchain, we'll also be trying to bring as much of this pre-production data into New Relic and provide as much of this production data to our pre-production partners to create a seamless developer experience across the entire toolchain. And with that, I believe we are headed into a demo, and I will pass it back over to Warren.
Hey, how's everybody doing again? So today we're going to take a look at how we're going to push a change from dev into production using Atlassian Open DevOps, CircleCI, and New Relic products. And just as a little bit of background, this demo is pushing a change to a service called Submit Image. I'm not going to dive into any details about that other than the fact that it's a image classification service which uses machine learning to apply text labels to images found on the internet, and it's built on top of AWS. So it's got some components that are AWS Lambdas, and it's got some SageMaker and some DynamoDB tables. And what we're going to look at today is pushing a change for one of the AWS Lambdas that make up that program. So from Atlassian's perspective, most work that a developer is going to do is going to start with creating a Jira issue for it. It's really important to kind of track your work in Jira issues because these form the integration point where we push all of our data back and allow people to kind of understand the context about what's happening in their development team. So what we're going to look at this Jira issue is two things that are really important. In the top left here, we've got the Jira issue ID, IM15. That's going to be important because we're going to have to put that in branch names and commit messages to make the integrations work. And the other thing that's really interesting to call out here is this development panel on the kind of side right-hand side. This development panel is going to be populated with links and various other artifacts as we do work. So as you make changes, commit and push to your source control, run builds, do deployments, this is going to get populated with more and more data from the various tools that you've integrated. And this means that if management wants to come in here and understand where in the life cycle a particular feature is, they can find the Jira issue, they can open up the Jira issue, and they've got everything that's been done related to that Jira issue in one spot. If another developer needs to pick up a task from one of their coworkers, they can again come in, they can find this development tab, and that'll show them all of the code that's been changed find all of the builds that have been done, all of the tests that have been run, all of the pull requests that have been opened and closed. So we can kind of find everything here. So this is really important for work tracking purposes and provides a lot of value to the team. So once you've got a Jira issue, and one thing to note here, this is to make a change to submit image. You need to find your source code. So inside Jira, there's this handy little code tab. If you open up this code tab, you can see all of the repositories that are associated with this particular project. So this Jira instance is associated with a specific project for building image labeler, and there are a number of repositories associated with it. What we can see here is that all these repositories are Bitbucket repositories. We fully support other instances or other source control tools like GitHub and GitLab. So if you also had a few GitHub repositories, they would show up here as well. If you had some GitLab repositories, they would show up here as well. And what you can do is from this code tab, you can go in and click on any one of these and it'll open up that repository in the associated tool. So if we were to click on submit image from this page, we would jump over to the submit image repository in Bitbucket. Now, what we're going to do as soon as we get here is we're going to grab our clone URL and we're going to clone this down to our development laptop and we're going to make a quick change. So we grab our URL right from the UI and we go to our code or our terminal, make our clone, and then we can open up our code in our preferred editor. There's no prescription here about what you have to use to make your changes. So if you're like me and you like using Vim and a command line, go for it. If you like using Visual Studio, go for it. If you like using IntelliJ tools, it's all good. They all work, and there's integrations for many of them. So we're going to make a quick change. Nothing complicated here. And then we have to commit and push. And I wanted to call this out specifically because, again, I want to make a note that we have to put this Jira issue ID in our branch names and our commit messages. It doesn't have to be the only thing in the branch name and the commit message. You can have other words in there, but it needs this Jira issue ID so the integration can associate this work back with that particular Jira. So we've made a change and we've done a commit and a push, and we're pushing to a branch called IM15 with a commit message that has IM15 in it. And once that's done, we can go back into Bitbucket and we can see that we're now on the IM15 branch. And in the bottom right corner here, we can see that we've kicked off a CircleCI build. So this happens automatically because we've got CircleCI configuration information in our repository. And what we can do from here is we can follow this link. And this link will take us directly into CircleCI so that we can see what changes are being made and what CircleCI is doing. And I'm going to pass this over to Rick now to take us through the CircleCI offering.
So now that we've pushed our changes, we can see we're brought to a step view, which is all of the output of our steps included in our job. We can see that this job is for the IM15 branch. If we go one level up, we can look at the jobs as a DAG, directed acyclic graph. If we want to go up another level, we can look at all the pipelines run for the specific branch. If you're anything like me, there will be quite a few of these because we'll always make mistakes. And if we want to jump one more level, now we can see all of the pipelines run for this project across branches. Of course, we can filter again. Going into our configuration, we had a brief chat about that earlier in this webinar. I'm not going to bore you with the details of these YAML blocks, but these are blocks of code that represent our deployment workflows, deploy testing and deploy production. As previously mentioned, we offer a variety of orbs for integrating with this. Makes it quite simple to get, like we can see Jira here, notifying every time we make a significant step, whether it's a build or deployment, to populate Warren's deployment view. We go to 35 and see just a brief description of our test job and our build job. Pull in Docker containers, images of any flavor, have specific credentials for AWS instances, in this case, a region, and then our specific commands like go test. I'm going to hop over. So back to the orbs, we have quite a few of these now. I think it's over 140 for the certified and over 1,700 for our community. These range from language integrations to Slack to Jira, many variety of integrations to simplify this. We're going to hop back to our Bitbucket pipeline to see the status of our build. So I will pass this back to you, Warren.
Okay, so once the CircleCI builds have completed and that pipeline is run to completion, if we were to refresh the page in Bitbucket, we'll be able to see updates in the bottom right. In this case, we can see that we've successfully completed multiple steps. When we previously looked at this view, we had seen that the build was running, but it had not gotten the green check mark. Now we can see that that's done, and we've done a deployment, and we've also done another step for instrumenting something. All of the steps related to this particular push will show up on this page, and we can understand the status of that from here. So like say we broke something, we destroyed our test environment with a bad push. These are going to fail. Maybe the test steps are going to show some errors. We can drill in from there and understand what was wrong. So it gives us really quick access to that information and lets us kind of diagnose problems really quickly. But in this case, everything's green and we're happy. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a pull request to push this into mainline now. So to create a pull request in Bitbucket, it's really straightforward. We can jump back over to this high-level view where we've got our submit image repository, and we can see our left nav bar. We're going to click pull requests, and we're going to create pull requests. And in this case, we're going to grab our IM15 branch, and we're going to merge it into mainline. From here, you can click create pull request, and you're going to jump into kind of the pull request detail screen. This you can give to other developers because you're going to assign them review duties and stuff. So you can have people come in and audit your code changes. This view pulls in all of the code changes that were made as part of this pull request. This view also pulls in all of the build results from CircleCI. So you can see on this view behind the merge pull request screen, kind of the CircleCI builds that have run. You could see test results. You could put links to your Confluence pages in here if you wanted to have design docs or stuff like that visible to people. Developers and other peers can leave comments on this. So you can kind of do a full code audit process in this screen. Once that's completed and you're happy with the changes and you're ready to move to production because you finished your change management, you can approve and merge your pull requests. So that's what we're seeing here. So you click merge. And now we'll notice that we've jumped back into our submit image code view, and we've got mainline branch instead of IM15. And we can see that we've kicked off another CircleCI pipeline. We've got in this particular repository a different workflow set up to run for mainline because this has to deploy to a different environment. The feature branch workflow deployed to a test environment. In this case, we're deploying to a production environment, and we're going to run similar but different steps with some different details. And this is going to take us back into CircleCI.
So similar to the view that we saw earlier for the IM15 branch, we're brought back to a step view of the mainline branch. Looks like our process is going quite well. Let's hop back. Once this is done, we should see a deployment in our production region. Let's hop back to Jira and verify that we can see a build and a deployment.
So once we've completed that, we can go take a look at our Jira issue. And earlier when we looked at this view, I had called out this development panel, and I said that this was going to get automatically populated by all of the work we've been doing. So we've done a couple commits, we've made a pull request, we've done some builds, and we've deployed to some environments. So that data is aggregated here. And one of the things we can do is we can click into this and get a more detailed view of all of this stuff. So from the Jira issue, you can click onto the development panel, and that'll pop you into this view. And we'll notice there's a number of tabs across the top here. So we're going to look at a few of those. In the commit tab, we can see all of the commits that were made as part of this Jira issue. So as you've seen in the demo, we did a change in IM15 branch, and then we did a pull request. So these links under the commit tab let you jump directly to the change that was made. So you can go to that, you can click on it, and it'll take you to your Bitbucket tool or your other tool, and it'll show you the exact view of the changes that were made. So you can really quickly get an understanding of what changes this particular Jira issue made to the system. You can also go to the pull request tab, and you'll see all the pull requests that were made as part of this Jira issue. If there were many of them, you'll see many of them. And you can, again, click on the title of this to go directly to the pull request. So again, if you're management, you want to see what the last pull request looked like, you can click on this, it'll take you there, and that pull request will be it'll have all of the data that you would expect. It'll have your reviewers, your comments, the status of all the builds, and you'll see when it was approved and when it was merged. You can click on the Builds tab. Inside the Builds tab, you can see the latest build that was done. And you can click on this to jump into the CircleCI pipeline that did this build. Build is a type of step inside CircleCI. So you would label the step as a build step, and then it would show up here. So this is good if you have to compile code or do some kind of actual, like, really specific building of your application. So you can get some details on that and quickly access it. And then the final tab we're going to look at here is the Deployments tab. This tab shows us kind of the latest deployments to each of the regions that we're worried about. So in this case, we deployed to a testing region, and that happened 23 minutes ago, was successful. And you can click on these links to go to the CircleCI pipeline that did that deployment. So again, we can directly go from the Jira issue to the CI/CD pipeline that did the deployment. You can also see our production deployment, which happened 4 minutes ago during the demo, and the screenshot was taken anyways. Again, you can click on either of these links to go directly to the CircleCI pipeline that made these changes and get the exact details you want very, very quickly. Now, one other view I want to take a look at in Jira Software is this aggregated deployments view. So we were looking at a specific Jira issue in the Jira Kanban board earlier. This deployments tab shows us all of the Jira issues that have had deployments in the last months. And we can see over time that we've had a number of deployments to each region. So this aggregates data. So if you have many developers working with many Jira issues at a time, you can come in here to get a high-level overview of all of the work that's being done and where each of those changes are. So it's a nice aggregation of the data. And again, all of this stuff, no developers had to spend time updating their Jira issues or manually putting anything in there. The integrations between the various tools are doing this for you automatically. And again, I think that's the real value proposition of Atlassian Open DevOps and all of the integrations with our partners. You can get data into your tools and have them communicate with each other and, see value that way rather than having developers waste time kind of clicking around and adding manual comments and updates. So now we're going to move on and we're going to jump back into CircleCI.
So there are two quick things to tell you about CircleCI. The first is that we have context to securely store your credentials and sensitive data that's required by your pipeline. In this slide, we see three contexts, one for Atlassian, which holds our credentials to talk with Atlassian, one for AWS, which holds our credentials for talking to AWS, finally one for New Relic, which holds our credentials to talk to New Relic. Now, the second thing that I want to talk to you about is webhooks. Recently, we've launched this ability. Usually, our integrations will come in the form of an orb, but when that is either not available, not necessary, or for other reasons not wanted, we can easily use webhooks. Here we see we have our New Relic webhooks for sending our build status and logs to New Relic. And now we're going to go have a look at how all this looks in New Relic.
All right. Hi, my name is Glenn Thomas. I'm a principal partner engineer with New Relic, and we're going to take a look now at the data coming from CircleCI over to New Relic. Because we have this webhook set up, we're able to use our dashboarding capabilities to visualize this data. Fortunately, you don't have to start from scratch. We have a integrated dashboard that we've created with a lot of the relevant data that we think you should take a look at. It details things like total jobs, job health, project summary, and so forth. A couple things to call out on the screen. So in addition to being able to customize each of these widgets, the data on the board, if you notice, each of the widgets have three dots in the upper right-hand corner. So you can click there and you can actually get to a number of different things. So you can create alerts on the data that's behind this dashboard. You can create that alert and you can actually hook it up with Ops Genie to send that to your teams. You can also view the query or the code that we use behind the scenes to get this data. We'll talk about that in a little bit, go in a little more detail there. But you can also get a chart link. So you can actually send this to somebody externally so that they can see the same data that you're taking a look at. Let's go to the next screen here. So to talk about our capabilities, this is one thing that we've been talking about here, but there's a lot of different data that we bring in. We're a full observability software platform. And so that includes metrics, events, logs, and traces from a variety of different systems. It could be cloud-based, it could be on-prem, it could be SaaS solutions. We have a lot of different integrations. And one of the things that I think is very beneficial is that not only do we get your data in and allow you to visualize it, but we also allow you to do a number of different things with that data. Machine learning, we have capabilities for more advanced visualizations. And we've talked about it before, alerting. So let's talk about the data for a second. To get into this data, we're going to first go to the application that we deployed. As Warren mentioned before, this is a Lambda application. And so we have a serverless section in our platform that allows you to view these integrations from a Lambda perspective. We have integration with AWS CloudWatch metric streams. And so there's a lot of data coming in from that, but we also have something called Lambda layers, where we've integrated in with various languages within Lambda so that you can have an APM-like experience with your serverless functions. And we'll go into some detail there about the kind of telemetry you can get. In this case, we're going to look at submit image, the first function, and we're going to look at that in the production environment. So here you can see our interface for Lambda functions. Obviously, we have not only the performance metrics, but a lot of the metadata and tags that come from AWS, and these are tags that you can customize to your environment. Also, all the CloudWatch metrics that you typically have in that system come through here and are charted and graphed, and so you can see and visualize those and alert off of those as well. If you notice in the upper right-hand corner, there's an icon. That's your access from anywhere in the platform, your access to data. So we're going to look now at what does it look like when we dive down into the data. So here we have our querying interface. We have two varieties of this. One of them is the Data Explorer. That's kind of a curated view. It's a more guided process to see what things are available and how to map them. We also have this query builder view. This is our we call it NRQL. It's actually very much like SQL. It allows you to get at the actual data. It's got type ahead, so anything you type in, you're able to see the tables that are available. You're able to see the schema and the functions that you can run against them. And most dashboards in our system have this ability to look and see behind the scenes what is driving this, so you can see many examples in the system about how to drive it. In this case, I did something interesting. I looked at these Lambda functions and what was actually running, what Lambda runtime, what languages were running, and what was it costing us. And so in this case, it's kind of unfair. You can see that even though we have multiple Go Lambda functions, it's the Python function that is taking up the most time. Now, as you dig deeper into the system, into the Lambda functions, you can see that this particular Lambda functions that are written in Python are the ones that are accessing SageMaker. So, always there's an explanation. If you're able to dig a little deeper, we give you the tools to do that digging to find out what's really happening. So let's look now at distributed tracing. So we talked about some metrics, we talked about events. We're going to go into distributed tracing here and also look at logs. So you can see that we have in the pane behind here, we have a number of different traces that have been taken during this session. We can click on one of those traces and go into greater detail about the trace. But I wanted to call out specifically that once we get into a trace, we have the ability at a click to look at the logs in context that are specific to that trace. That's very significant. That allows us to zero in and very quickly. And this is not just in distributed traces, but throughout our system, we have the ability, if you import logs, you have the ability to see those logs in context correlated to the events or timeframes or traces that you're viewing throughout the system. In this case, we can see very quickly in the logs that the file extension was set that was sent in with the submit image was not valid. That's what was causing the error. All right, when errors occur, one of the challenges that all companies deal with, right, is alert fatigue. You can have, in this case, we see 10 errors came in, but you could have thousands of errors. So we have an errors inbox that correlates those and sorts them into the types of issues that are coming through your system. You're able to see what's happening, forest for the trees, without getting into detail, what's coming into the system without being overwhelmed. And even from that interface, without going into the details, you can actually create a JIRA task to pass this off to a specific team that can dig it further into the details and figure out what's going on. And with that, we'll pass it back to Warren.
So we're going to take a quick look at one of the JIRA issues that's created by the new Relic integration. So from errors inbox, a user would decide that they wanted to raise an issue in JIRA to investigate why that error is happening and maybe fix the code that's causing it. So from errors inbox, they click create new JIRA issue, and that's going to raise a particular JIRA issue. The configuration of this JIRA issue can be controlled through the integration. So what shows up in the subject, what comes in the description, what task or status it's assigned to by default, if it's assigned to somebody in particular. So you have some control over the high-level structure of these JIRA issues. And that's really useful because maybe you want to create a dashboard inside JIRA issue software that looks at only the issues that we receive from New Relic. That's a thing you could set up if you wanted to. One of the other things I want to call out is that we get two links in the body of this JIRA issue. One of them is a link to the error groups in New Relic, and the other is a link to the entities in New Relic. So if you were to grab these URLs, paste them into your browser, and go to them, this is going to take you directly back to the places in New Relic where the data related to this error occurs. So again, it's that tight integration. You can create a issue, assign it to a team. That team can look at it, and when their developers are ready to root cause it, they can get directly back into the New Relic product where this came from, so they can start to understand and dig into the data around this issue. So if we were to follow those two links, we'll jump back into New Relic.
Here we're looking at the error group summary. So this gives us, again, an instance of the occurrences. It gives us access to stack traces. So we can see specific traces related to these errors. And obviously, the logs in context as well, which is significant. Following the other link, we can actually get to the entity that caused this error. We can see specific performance metrics on it and tags, and we can drill down into the details that allow us to find out performance-wise, was there something going on with the system? Obviously, having the ability to have deployment markers here would be significant as well. We're excited that's something we're building with CircleCI soon.
All right. And that is the completion of that demo. And so I wanted to come in and just kind of talk a little bit about the common threads here and a little bit about integrated tool chains and the relationship to DevOps. And revisit some of the themes that we saw there in the demo. So, the question, why DevOps at all? Where's the value? Something probably many of us have asked or have been asked over the last 2 decades numerous times, and especially with the advent of additional syllables in the term DevSecOps, DevSecBizOps, or however many there are now. The answer that we give, especially if we want to be evangelists for DevOps in our organizations, is as important as ever. And of course, many of us have seen this type of diagram so many times. And on the surface, yes, DevOps is this continuous flow of information up and down the software lifecycle, so that we can, quickly give feedback to creators so they can design, plan, and build to maximize the value that's delivered to the end users. And this goes on and on forever. But I think, to all the people on this webinar, DevOps has some other kind of deeper meanings, and it's about working by certain values that we wanted to touch on, given their relevance to integrated tool chains and making sure that you're using integrated solutions to manage your DevOps and software lifecycle. And the first one of these basically is, unless you're the one swinging the hammer, don't get too hung up on the hammers they choose. And this is about meeting developers and other creators where they're at. I think this is important both for vendors and for managers or purchasers at organizations to keep in mind, in that, oftentimes the best morale, the best productivity and efficiency happens when dev teams are allowed to pick the tools that they use that best fit their needs during any given project. The next one to revisit here is that good fences make bad neighbors when it comes to software delivery. So DevOps and integrated tool chains are about removing barriers and allowing teams to own and manage the entire software lifecycle, and stop punting things over the fence and forgetting about them. This will improve the team's performance, morale, and overall the quality of the product. Next up, nobody wins in a game of telephone. And this is where we think the completion of the feedback loop through delivery of live telemetry and data back to developers so that they can iterate is extremely important. And it's about, allowing them to design, develop, and build based on actual hard data that they're getting from production, from customers, from users. Of course, giving them the ability to filter that data as needed, but avoiding the temptation to sort of base prioritization of roadmaps and selection of tasks for development on opinions. And this, again, just gets back to the all-important goal of delivering the highest value updates as quickly as possible to end users. And so in summary, when we talk about an integrated tool chain and we talk about choosing vendors for, your IDE, your CI/CD management, your ticketing, your deployments, and your observability, your tools, when taken together, should be able to help you plan, build, integrate, deploy, observe, report, and repeat without a lot of nudging and a lot of manual copying and pasting in between those steps. And when you have a successfully integrated tool chain, you will see improved developer metrics, such as feature velocity, mean time to resolution, improved developer work-life balance as they're able to sort of validate that their updates are performing as expected, or that they've completed all necessary things before they clock out for the day, and they're not worried about jumping back on at 7:30 when something isn't quite right. And it also promotes easy experimenting and easy progress, which today, with the increased velocity of deployments and the shortening of the iteration loops, is extremely important and necessary if any company that depends on software wants to succeed. And so I'll leave it there. We did want to definitely leave some room for questions here. And so I will go ahead and move on to that portion of the presentation, and just invite the audience, if they have questions, to go ahead and post them in chat, and take it from there. All right. Looks like, let me take a look here. Some of the questions that we have coming in.
I have to say it was kind of fun in creating the webinar and creating the application pushes and everything to actually use our tools to help that process. It was pretty cool. In the process, it actually proved out the value of having not only each of these sets of tools, but also the integrations between them to help us troubleshoot that process even faster. It was pretty fun.
Absolutely.
And we've got one question here, and that is, do I have to use Bitbucket with Atlassian Open DevOps, or can I use GitHub or GitLab? Warren, I think maybe you'd be a good one to answer that one.
Sounds good. So out of the box, Atlassian Open DevOps provides Bitbucket and Bitbucket pipelines for source control, pull requests, and CI/CD pipelines. But all the features that you saw with updating the Jira issues and stuff in Bitbucket are fully supported with GitHub and GitLab as well. So if you wanted to use either of those, by all means, integrate them. And you can use their CI/CD products, or you can integrate them with CircleCI or other tools as well. So yeah, again, that's kind of the Atlassian Open DevOps value proposition, is that we want teams to bring their tools to their pipelines and not be restricted in what they have to use. So we're going to give you guys kind of that core set of tools that you can use, and you can swap out the ones for any of them for what you prefer to use, and you can integrate additional capabilities as you have needs. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, we got one. What would be a good process to build DevOps pipeline for, or a good starting point to start with CI/CD? Rick, you may want to take that one.
Sure. Let me just review the question again. I would say that any development process that is static, tedious, and/or prone to human error is a great candidate for automation and putting into your CI/CD pipeline. In my life, that running tests qualifies tedious. Updating a release image qualifies as something like static, and deploying an application to marketplace or registry is definitely prone to human error, at least for me. So those are the first places I'm going to start.
Great, thank you. Another one here, someone says, let's say I only use one of these three tools described today. How long would it take to set up this tool chain as we've demoed, and how much would it cost? I can speak from New Relic's perspective, and I think the answer from the other two vendors too may also be that it's relatively low cost. But because we a free account at New Relic essentially gets a free 100 gigabytes of storage per month, and we have a pretty streamlined data onboarding process. So we've been able to show through the early stages of the CircleCI integration that logs just take a few minutes to set up, and that there's a lot of views that are sort of pre-built for those users. And combined with that 100 free gigabytes per month, it means setting up New Relic with CircleCI remains a pretty much free or nearly free type of experience for new users. I don't know if Warren or Rick, if you had any more to add about the cost of setting up the demo that we saw today.
Sure. Go first. Go ahead. Okay. At least on the CircleCI side, we did quite a few tests to set up this webinar and build the demo out. We just revised our free plan and our free tier offerings, and we reached about 10% of the free tier usage. So at least for what we did today, it's likely that it would be free for quite some time.
I would say from the New Relic standpoint, we didn't even touch the free tier. We were pushing it close to 1 gigabyte for all the work that we did throughout this process. So it's very, and I think that's one of the benefits is that you can start very small and see value out of those initial integrations or initial connections, initial sets of data, just to see, what does this add? What does this do to our processes? What does it do to our visibility? And we've given the free tiers for that very reason. We want you to experiment and not be constrained by cost. Find out what works for you first, and then decide where to go from there. We have guides that will help you as well with if you wanted to go bigger to look at the costing.
From Atlassian's Open DevOps perspective, we have a free tier for up to 10 users in Jira Software, Confluence, and Opsgenie, and up to 5 users in Bitbucket. So for small startups and new teams that are kind of just getting the ball rolling, it's easy to spin up an Open DevOps instance and kind of get proof of concept done, build some stuff out, and get it working in your organization for free. And with that, you can do all the integrations we've seen, like in this demo or other places, as part of that. So the integrations are not restricted. So yeah, if you have a small team as a skunkworks to see whether it's going to work for you or not, it's basically free to get started and free to try.
Great. Couple more questions, rapid fire style, given that we are pushing the hour. But how does Bitbucket pipelines work together with CircleCI? That might be a Rick or Warren question.
I guess I could take a quick whack at this to start with anyways. So Bitbucket will run whatever CI/CD pipelines there are configuration files for. So if you're in Bitbucket and you've enabled Bitbucket pipelines and you have a Bitbucket pipeline.yaml file, when a push hits the repository, Bitbucket will try to run that deployment. If there is a CircleCI integration installed and you have a CircleCI configuration file, and when a commit hits that repository, it will try to run the CircleCI CI/CD configuration. So you could have either or within the same project. In the same repository, theoretically, you could probably have both kick off and do specific jobs. So if there's something you like doing in CircleCI that you don't like doing in Bitbucket pipelines, you could configure it that way if you wanted to, and vice versa. So it's very flexible. They interop basically directly. Now, it'd probably be a terrible idea to have both of them doing the same steps. Like I wouldn't want to do 2 deployments to the same environment with 2 different CI/CD pipelines, because that's probably not going to work very well. But I think the tools would not limit you in that case. You're free to use them together. Rick, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, that was very comprehensive.
Awesome. And the next one, what would you advise an org moving towards DevOps who need to take an incremental approach? What part of DevOps would you advise doing first, then next? And I'll just kind of toss this one up in the air and see who wants to take it.
I wouldn't mind giving a little bit on this. So this is kind of the goal of Atlassian Open DevOps, is to give teams kind of that really straightforward starting point. You can sign up for Atlassian Open DevOps, and you've got 5 tools out of the box that'll give you most of what you need for running DevOps. And from there, it's really easy to branch out. So you could start with Atlassian Open DevOps, get your stuff up and running, and then as you have new needs on your team, integrate the products that fulfill those needs. And you can do that incrementally, piece at a time, and slowly kind of grow out your solution as you have capacity to onboard new tools. So yeah, that's where I would start.
And I would advise experimentation. You don't know what you don't know. And so we've all given, all 3 companies have given the ability to go in and experiment, to turn things on. You can easily turn them back off again if it doesn't provide value. But we want you to find value in what we're offering, and so we give you the ability to do it very incrementally. Definitely, I would start with the DevOps tool sets, but very quickly, you're going to want to be able to visualize things and see things. So I would think that observability and the ability to at least visualize your data is going to come very quickly. And that visualization can happen within each of the products. Both CircleCI and Atlassian have visualization components in them as well. So I think you see the value in all three tools.
The only thing that I can really add to both of those answers is to address the parts of DevOps you would advise doing first, then next. Really, as everybody says, we offer you an incremental way to do this. But if you're looking for specific steps, identify your pain points. What is the biggest problem in your development process? What hurts the most? What is the most unreliable, or what leads to the most problems? My kind of tried and true approach of doing this is I always start with my tests, because I get very attached to having my tests run on every commit. Write pre-commit hooks, have that in my CI pipeline. Going from there, that there's many ways. If your deployment process is really painful, knock that down next. To touch on to Glenn's answer, experimentation is important. There are a bunch of times when you should experiment, such as when your project grows in size and complexity. You learn new things about your system and the parameters that go into it, or your processes change. Those are all great times to experiment. Review what are your new pain points, and kind of take this very iterative and incremental approach.
Awesome. Well, Rick, thank you for that last input on our final question. I do hate to cut you guys off in such an in-depth conversation at this moment, but we are at the top of the hour. So Rick, Warren, Camden, and Glenn, thank you all so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise, for putting together this demo and walking everyone through how all of your platforms integrate and commingle. So thank you again so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you. See you, folks.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.
So to our audience, just a quick reminder that this session was in fact recorded. So following this panel, you'll receive an email with a link to access the recording on demand, or you can find it living on the DevOps website at devops.com/webinars, and just be sure to look in the on-demand section. So we did say that we'll be giving away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards at the top of the hour. So our 4 winners are Roberto B, Judy L, Junior M, and Isaac O. So to our 4 winners, congratulations. Please keep an eye on your inbox to claim that gift card. But if you do not see that email, just check your spam folder. I would like to thank CircleCI for sponsoring today's program and bringing together our speakers. And I'd also like to thank Atlassian, CircleCI, and New Relic for allowing Rick, Warren, Camden, Glenn, everyone to join us. So to CircleCI, thank you for sponsoring this program. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us. We do ask for one extra moment of your time for a brief survey that should pop up on your screen as soon as we close out. But otherwise, we hope to see everyone at an upcoming Techstrong Learning program. Everyone, have a great rest of your day.